Tony. My name is Jennings. I'm giving my speech on home brewing today. Got my 5 people here. And you need to do your self flick so that you can see you're the 5th person. Okay. Alright, I'm at the beach right now and we're staying in a camper, so I'm giving it from the kitchen in the camper. Got all my equipment right here, so that's how I'm going to be giving my speech. Alright, so I guess I'll begin now. Alright, so today we're going to talk about home brewing and how to make a batch of beer at your house. Basically it consists of 3 separate portions: the cleaning and sanitation part, the actual brewing, and then finally the fermentation and carbonation of the beer after it's done fermenting. So to begin with, sanitation is the first and most important key to beer brewing. I read a book that said it's 75% of the brewing is sanitation and cleaning. This is mainly due to the fact that there's lots of bacteria that can get into your beer if you're not careful and everything's not clean, and that bacteria can actually ruin the flavor of the beer, which is obviously a bad thing. So most important thing is cleaning. Step 1 is the actual cleaning. You want to use some sort of a detergent that is has no perfumes or dyes in it that could affect the flavor of the beer and cause it to taste soapy. You want to make sure to clean it really well and also rinse it off really well so that you get rid of any organic chemicals that could ruin the flavor of the beer. The second step in sanitation is the actual sanitizing part. There's a few different chemicals that you can use that will actually sanitize and kill pretty much all of the bacteria or anything that could possibly contaminate the beer and make it taste bad. So the actual cleaning and sanitation is probably the most difficult and longest part of it. But once you get past that, you get to the fun part, the actual brewing of the beer. So I do extract brewing or partial mash, and that consists of having some malt grains, consists of having a malt extract, which is basically just a concentrated extract that you get from malt grain that a company will do for you. And the last is the addition of the hops. And then we have yeast for fermentation later on. That's the 3rd step. So the first step is you have a pot here and you're going to turn it on like that. And what you want to do if you're brewing, I usually go with 5 gallons. This is going to simulate 5 gallons. You're going to want to add 3 gallons of water. To your pot first, and you're going to want to bring it up to about 150 degrees, give or take 5 degrees, and you're going to take your malt and you're going to steep it in the water for about 30 minutes. And what this does is it releases the sugars from the malt, and it's the sugars that the yeast actually converts to alcohol later on. So after you steep this for 30 minutes, take it out, squeeze it out, put it aside, and then you're going to want to take this off of the pot, and then you'll add your extract, which is just adding more sugar. Pour that in. And you're going to want to stir it up. So it's usually a thicker, syrupy type deal. So you're going to want to stir it up so it doesn't stick to the bottom and burn. Once you do that, you just throw it back on your burning stove, and you're going to want to heat it up until it boils. Once it starts boiling, you grab your hops and you throw them in there. And you're usually going to want to boil your hops for about 60 minutes. Because that's about how long it takes to get all the flavor out of the hops. So The reason you add hops, malt is very sweet, hops are very bitter, so when you add the two together it usually balances out the flavor so you're not too sweet or too bitter. So after that boils for 60 minutes, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cool it down as quickly as possible. So you'll throw it into an ice bath. And the reason you want to cool it down fast is because that's going to keep any bacteria from growing in your wort. So obviously, like I said before, you don't want any of that. The final step, I'm just going to come out of the picture here, is the actual fermentation and carbonation of the beer. You'll have a fermentation bucket, and what you'll do is you will basically pour it into your fermentation bucket. And you will then add your yeast. And you want to, this is my aerator, you're going to want to add oxygen to your beer because the yeast needs oxygen to convert all your sugars to alcohol. So once you aerate it, you will put the lid back on it, make sure it's a tight seal, and you'll let it sit for 2 weeks. And after it sits for about 2 weeks, you can then move it into your bottles, and you'll add a little bit more sugar to it, and the yeast will then turn that into carbonation. And after 2 weeks after being in the bottles, then you will then you'll have beer that's ready to drink, just refrigerate it and enjoy. So just to recap, there's 3 stages: the sanitation, the actual brewing process, and of course the fermentation, which is what turns the sugars into alcohol. Once you're done with all of that and you put it into your bottles to let the carbonation build up, then you're ready to drink a beer. So that's pretty much it for homebrewing. Cheers.